All right, you lovely lot. Emily Bennett here. Today, we're getting into something that really hit home for me during a chat with James, my husband. We were talking about our friend Jules, who's running her media company, and I was asking how she's been getting on with her team. Turns out, she's thriving. But the conversation took a twist. She mentioned she had a bad boss in the past who made her life hell, all through these sneaky emotional manipulation tactics. And let's be honest, bad bosses are everywhere, aren't they? They don't always scream or shout, but they'll twist things emotionally, making you doubt yourself or even question your worth. So, today we're going to break down how bad bosses use emotional manipulation to control or intimidate employees, and, more importantly, how you can deal with these dirty tactics. Grab a cuppa, because this one's going to have a few twists and turns, and I'll throw in some bold stories to keep it lively. 1. The emotional roller coaster. Praise. One day, criticize the next. First up, let's talk about the classic emotional manipulation tactic that bad bosses love to use, keeping you on an emotional roller coaster. 1 minute, they're praising you to the heavens, making you feel like a superstar, and the next, they're knocking you down with sharp criticism. It's all about keeping you off balance, so you're always craving that next bit of validation. Jules had a boss just like this. She told me how one week he'd be telling her she was the backbone of the team, giving her all sorts of compliments. And then, the very next week, he'd call her out in meetings, pointing out mistakes in front of everyone, making her feel small and embarrassed. It was a proper head game. 1 minute you're on top of the world, the next, you're questioning your abilities. How to deal with it? Recognize the game for what it is. Emotional manipulation. Don't let their mood swings dictate how you feel about your performance. Keep a log of your accomplishments, so when they try to tear you down, you have a clear reminder of your value. 2. The guilt trip, making you feel like you owe them. Here's a cheeky one, the guilt trip. Bad bosses are masters at making you feel like you owe them. They'll say things like, "I stuck my neck out for you on that promotion," or, "I gave you this opportunity, don't let me down." It's all designed to make you feel indebted to them, even if they haven't really done anything special. Jules told me about a time when her boss gave her a project that was actually way below her skill level, but then made her feel like she should be grateful for the opportunity. He'd say things like, "I really went out on a limb to get you this," when in reality, it was work nobody else wanted to touch. But the way he framed it, Jules felt obligated to say yes and go the extra mile. How to deal with it? Be mindful of your own value. If a boss makes you feel guilty for simply doing your job or accepting opportunities that are rightfully yours, take a step back and assess whether they're really doing you a favor, or if they're using the guilt card to control your behavior. Remind yourself that your hard work is your own, not something to feel guilty about. 3. Public praise, private criticism, two-faced leadership. Another dirty trick in the emotional manipulation playbook is public praise, private criticism. These bosses will be all smiles and compliments in front of others, telling the team what a fantastic job you're doing. But behind closed doors? Oh, they'll let you know that you're not quite meeting expectations. Or they'll nitpick at the smallest things. It's their way of keeping control while maintaining the appearance of being supportive. I remember this one particularly nasty boss I had back in the day. In meetings, he'd act like I was his star employee, bigging me up in front of the higher-ups, giving me public recognition. But as soon as we were alone, it was a completely different story. He'd point out the tiniest mistakes, make comments about how I could do better, and always left me feeling like I was falling short. It's a tactic to keep you second-guessing yourself. You never quite know where you stand. How to deal with it? Hold them accountable for their mixed messages. If they criticize you privately after praising you publicly, calmly bring up their inconsistencies. You can say something like, You mentioned in the meeting that I did a great job, but now I'm hearing something different. Can you clarify what your expectations are? Make them own up to the emotional games they're playing. 4. Isolation tactics. Turning colleagues against each other. Now, this one's a real twist. A bad boss will sometimes use isolation tactics to keep control. They'll play colleagues against each other, making you feel like you're on an island with no support. They might give you information that's different from what they tell others, or they'll subtly encourage competition between you and your peers, creating mistrust and division. Jules experienced this firsthand. Her boss would feed her information that was slightly off from what the rest of the team had, causing confusion and tension. Then, when things went wrong, it looked like Jules had dropped the ball. It was a sneaky way of keeping her isolated, so she couldn't fully rely on her colleagues for support. How to deal with it? Build alliances with your colleagues. If you notice that your boss is pitting people against each other or keeping information fragmented, make an effort to communicate directly with your team. Transparency is your best defense. Don't let them isolate you. Strengthen your network within the company. 5. Using fear as control, the threat of consequences. One of the boldest tactics bad bosses use is good old-fashioned fear. They'll drop subtle, or sometimes not so subtle threats about what will happen if you don't toe the line. It could be losing a promotion, missing out on a big project, or even hinting at your job being on the line. They'll create a culture of fear where employees are too scared to speak up or challenge them. Jules' boss used to make these casual comments like, "You wouldn't want to be left out of the next big promotion round, would you?" Or, "People who don't pull their weight around here don't tend to stick around long." It's that underlying threat that keeps people quiet and compliant, even when they know something isn't right. How to deal with it? Don't let fear cloud your judgment. Document everything. Keep records of meetings, emails, and conversations, so if the boss ever tries to make good on their threats, you've got the receipts. And if things get really dodgy, don't be afraid to escalate the situation to HR or higher management. 6. How to protect yourself from emotional manipulation. All right, so now that we've laid out the dirty tricks that bad bosses use to emotionally manipulate their employees, let's talk about how to protect yourself from falling into these traps. 1. Stay grounded in reality. Manipulative bosses thrive on making you doubt yourself. So, always stay grounded in reality. Keep a journal or log of your work, accomplishments, and feedback. When they try to twist things, you'll have hard evidence to remind yourself of the truth. 2. Set boundaries. Emotional manipulators love to push your boundaries, making you work longer hours or take on unreasonable tasks. Set firm boundaries about your time, workload, and mental health. Politely but firmly say no when you need to, and don't feel guilty about it. 3. Build a support network. Don't isolate yourself. Build alliances with colleagues, friends, or even a mentor. Having people you trust to talk to will give you perspective and help you spot manipulation more clearly. It's much harder for a bad boss to control you if you've got strong relationships and a support system around you. So, there you have it. Emotional manipulation in leadership, laid bare. Whether it's the emotional roller coaster of praise and criticism, guilt trips, isolation tactics, or using fear as a weapon, bad bosses have all sorts of tricks up their sleeves to keep control. But now you know what to look out for, and more importantly, how to protect yourself. Let me know in the comments if you've ever had a boss like this. How did you deal with it? And don't forget to subscribe for more cheeky insights on how to navigate life, work, and everything in between. Cheers for watching. And remember, bad bosses only win if you let them. Stay smart.